Let's talk about some actual history and some art and culture. Hi everyone, my name is Leah, and today we will look at the 10 best non-fiction books that I've read. Yeah, it's a genre that probably most people will not be interested in, but I do like non-fiction books, and yeah, I don't care about views or anything. I just want to talk about what I like, and that's why I'm talking about this list today. So it's a series that I do regularly in all kinds of genres, and I will rank these books from number 10 up to the best book, and I will also briefly mention a few honorable mentions in here. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. So, the first honorable mention is Myths and Legends by Philip Wilkinson. This is all about mythology and it's quite dense, but DK books usually put a lot of information on just one page. That's just normal. And yeah, it has a lot of pictures in it, which is always very helpful with non-fiction books. So yeah, and it really keeps your attention. It's just boring to read a book without any drawings in it or pictures, right? So it's fun to have something to look at. So let's just take a quick look inside. These are random pages that I'm just opening. No idea what they will show, but yeah, it's all about all kinds of myths all over the world. And yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. So the next honorable mention, well, in this case it's also about mythology, but I'm talking about the whole series. These, I don't think they are translated, but I could be wrong about that. They are called 50 Classics, and they are about all kinds of topics, really. This one's just about mythology, but they also have historical stuff and a lot about art. So there's a book just about painters, or just a book about sculptures and so on. And yeah, I really like these. It gives you a really good overview, but if you're interested in more in-depth stuff, you should pick up something else afterwards. So this is what the mythology one has in it. And that's how the pages look like. I mean, there is a lot of text in it, and they are always very much about art, even in this mythology one. But yeah, I really like those. I have a lot of them. The next honorable mention is The Dog Fantastic by Ebony Elizabeth Thomas, and this is non-fiction about fictional texts. So this talks about race and imagination from all kinds of different popular books. So we have, for example, Harry Potter and Hunger Games in here, as the title says. And yeah, it's really interesting. It's like reading essays that are not very complicated, and it's always interesting to learn more about the books that you're reading. So this is a quite short book, as you can see, and this is what it contains. So yeah, some introductions and even a TV show. Okay, I didn't remember that. Good to know. But yeah, these are all very interesting examples, maybe except for Merlin. I didn't watch that, but Harry Potter, Hunger Games and Vampire Diaries are things that I highly enjoy. So yeah, that was really interesting, but could have been even more in depth. It's just quite short. And next up is The Other Alice. It's a non-fiction book about Alice Little and the book Alice in Wonderland. And yeah, it's just very fun. It can be read by a younger audience as well. And it also has a lot of pictures in it. It's quite short, but yeah, just very fun to learn more about it. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have a map. very cool. And yeah, not a lot of text in here. And yeah, it's just a very fun book. Next up is this massive book called Pareidolia by James Jean, which is just a book featuring a lot, but not all, of James Jean's artworks. So he's an artist, and this is just such a cool book to have if you like his art style or his works or just his vision. He has created, for example, movie posters, comic book covers, and a lot more than that, but maybe you know him from that. The problem is that there is no text in it about the artist, so if you're interested in why he's doing what he's doing and how he's doing it, you will not get that from this book. This is really just a collection of artworks, and the rest is just to be learned through interviews or YouTube videos. I don't think there's a book just about the artist. So yeah, but this is worth it just as a very pretty book in your collection. And I won't be able to show you what it looks inside with just one hand, so I had to do it on the ground. But this is just it. I mean, look at it. This is the naked paperback. Isn't that amazing? And yeah, the whole thing you can unfold, and you will have a really big poster on both sides. And yeah, the inside is just full of artworks, older ones, more recent ones, all kinds of stuff in there. I just love to look at it. It's so nice. And the last honorable mention is this massive Frida Kahlo book. Again, it's an artist, and this is a book illustrated by Benjamin Lacombe and written by Sebastian Paris. And yeah, this just retells the whole life story of Frida Kahlo, and the best part about it is just the illustrations, because again, there's not a lot of text in it, and if you've never heard about Frida Kahlo and don't know anything about her life, I don't think that you will really grasp the text that is in here. But yeah, as a fan of her artwork and her life, this is just such a cool book to have. So let's take a quick look inside again. So yeah, this is one of the coolest pages that you just saw, and yeah, it's just so cool. I love it. Starting with the actual top 10, the number 10 spot is actually shared by two books, because I just couldn't decide between the two, and they are topic-wise quite similar. So yeah, we just have two books on here. Just ignore it. It will not happen with any other books. Just this one's. Let's make an exception. So the first one is this very big and very heavy book, which will fall over if I won't hold it with my fingers. So sorry for that weird insert. But yeah, this is about an artist, Chuck Close. I never heard about him before I had to research his artwork and his career for university a few years back, and yeah, I just fell in love with this book. So yeah, his portraits are really on another level, and this book is absolutely massive. Has a lot of text in here. You really learn about everything that you need to know. So yeah, these are some very early pictures. He has so cool techniques, and yeah, some older ones, more experimental. I really love these ones. between realistic and abstract. So cool. And yeah, you really learn about his process. And then the other book on the number 10 spot is The Botticelli Renaissance. This is yet again about art and has a lot of text in it. Very huge book, very long, and a lot of pictures as well. And as you can see, it really starts in the Renaissance and goes through time and ending, well, quite in modern time. It's all about Botticelli and how his artworks still inspire other artists even today. And yeah, a lot about Venus or Aphrodite in it, which I just again had to read for university for my thesis. It's not just about paintings as the original Botticelli worked, or drawings. It's also about movies and a lot about fashion and even the music industry. And yeah, it's just really interesting to see all of the influences and what others are doing with this vision, and yeah, just how the goddess Venus is still everywhere in today's life. So yeah, I highly recommend it if you're interested in the topic. I know it's quite niche at this point, but yeah, it's just something that I love in art. So again, this is what it looks inside. Oh geez, yeah, one of the best examples right here in fashion. I love that example. But we also have a lot of Renaissance stuff about museums, about Primavera. It's not just about this one right here, but this is what my thesis paper was about, so I know that this book is also a lot about just the birth of Venus. And yeah, what others did, oh, even performance art, right, that's in here as well. And yeah, even Rene Magritte. Yeah, there's also some Asian stuff in here which I really loved. I will probably not find it if I'm looking for it, but yeah, Venus is also used for things like climate change and how we are destroying the world with all our trash in the seas and so on, and just all of modern life stuff like capitalism and so on. And yeah, it's really cool if you're interested in the topic, not so much if you're not. Okay, number 9 is Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton. This is all about mythology, and it's a very long book with a lot of text in it. Greek and Roman myths, and just culture and history as well, but it also talks about just individual myths, and I think even retells them and just points out stuff about them. Oh, I just saw that there are illustrations. Okay, but it can't be many if I don't remember them. So yeah, you do have illustrations in there to break up all of the dense stuff in between. And yeah, it was really, really cool if you're interested in the topic again. And yeah, I just love mythology. If it's fiction or non-fiction, doesn't matter. So yeah, let's find some illustrations. Naked hardback is really cool as well. Yeah, that's what I remembered. A lot of fucking text. No, oh yeah, right. So you have a few colorful pages, but yeah, it's just mostly texts in here. That's what's in here. Oh god, it goes on and on. So it's about a lot of stuff, not very in depth. If we're just talking about, I don't know, Antigone, for example, you just have a few pages on her. But I mean, if you've never heard about her, it's just a great collection to get into mythology. Okay, the next one is quite different from all of the other books, because this now is about English history, British history, whatever. And this is a collection of well, you could call them short stories, but it is non-fiction. It's just written in a very engaging and fun way to learn about English history, so it goes through time and just finds an interesting story or myth or whatever in that time and talks about it, where it came from, what does it tell you about English history. And yeah, this was really cool. I've heard of some of these stories, but most of them were new to me. So it starts, for example, with the Cheddar Man, and this is before Christ, and then it just goes on, talks about like Boudicca and Claudius, the Hadrian's Wall, and so on. Let's just take a quick look inside. So we only have little pictures with every new story. Oh yeah, King George III, really interesting as well to learn about. And this is what it starts with. So there's a lot of stuff in here, as you can see. On a similar note, this next book, again by DK, so you know it's going to have illustrations inside, but there's also going to be a lot of information on just one page, and it will take you forever to get through. Yeah, this is also about British history and also Irish history. And I mean, it says it's the definitive visual guide, and it's true on that note. It is really helpful to have all of the visuals in there, and yeah, it's quite dense and you learn a lot by reading it. I loved it. I know that for many people it will not be anything that they want to pick up because it's so long. But I love British history, and yeah, I mean the illustrations are great as well, so win-win. That's what it looks inside. So yeah, a lot of stuff in here. And that's not even the end. No. So yeah, I think it's really helpful for DK books that the chapters aren't very long, so you won't get frustrated because the reading is going to be very slow. Even though it doesn't look like much, I don't know, it took me forever to get through. So we always have a little introduction as a timeline before we start a new part, and then yeah, just a lot of pictures. And I could reread these books all the time because I can't remember all of what I'm reading when I'm reading non-fiction. So yeah, great potential to reread them. Next up is this book, 24 Hours in Ancient China. This is part of a series which is always starting with 24 hours in and then featuring a different place. So this is about China. There's also one about Rome, one about Greece, and then a fourth one which is about Egypt. I think these are all the books in that series, which is a shame. There could be so many more, which I would just love to read. But yeah, this is kind of fictional, kind of non-fictional, because it's written in a way that you follow a character which doesn't always really exist, and it's just about 1 hour in their life filled with all kinds of non-fiction knowledge in it. I think a few visuals in there as well. I don't want to call them illustrations, it's just if they talk about some kind of ship, you may have a little picture in it to just see what they're talking about. But yeah, not really illustrations. And yeah, this has 24 chapters in it, 24 different characters that have jobs that did exist in ancient China. So we have your typical warrior in it, you have your philosopher in it, and mothers, and I don't know, a smith, an artist and prostitutes and people who bring the mail. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in it. I love the series. It's so cool to learn about ancient history in that way. Again, it's split into parts so that you don't get bored, because every chapter will be very different from each other, and yeah, it's written in a way that it almost feels like fiction, but you learn something on the way. So that's just perfect for me. I like to read books to learn stuff, and if it's fun and exciting to read it, that's just perfect. So for example, in the ancient China one, this is what the chapters are about: tomb robber, midwife, stable hand, housewife, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's so cool. You always have a little introduction in it as well, just talking about the time, giving you some background information before going into it, and then it just starts with the first chapter. Let's see if I can find, yeah, you've got like visuals, pictures, photos, that kind of stuff along the way. So yeah, I really love that series. Next up is a book that I don't even own. It's Playing for Time, and it's a non-fiction book about someone who really existed in the Second World War, and she was in some kind of camp. I don't remember which one, but it's one where Anne Frank was in the end as well. I think that's where she was, and she was part of the orchestra in this camp, which, that's interesting. And this is also in Germany, if you didn't already tell by the Anne Frank stuff I was talking about. So yeah, concentration camp in Germany where there's an orchestra, and they are prisoners as well. They have some more luxuries in comparison to some other people, but it's still a very frustrating and deadly life that they have to live there. And I didn't know that there was something like an orchestra in these camps. That was just mind-blowing to know. Yeah, it was a very heartbreaking read, as almost all, or even all, World War II non-fiction books are. But yeah, if you're interested in it, I highly recommend it. It's not a very well-known book, but it's very good. Next up is Harari's Sapiens. I think everyone knows about it. When it came out, it was everywhere. Everyone and their mother read it, and yeah, I read it too, and I loved it. It's just one of the first non-fiction books I really read, so maybe it won't have been as amazing if I was very deep into non-fiction at that time. But yeah, it's just basically talking about the whole world history, like from the start of humanity and moving on towards life right now. And then he has also a book called Homo Deus, which is just about how the future might look like, or how it is looking right now already. So yeah, it's really interesting. I should reread it soon because I don't remember much, but yeah, I mean, it's just about human history. So you can really know what to expect going into it. But yeah, I like the writing style, and it wasn't too complicated to read about this stuff because English isn't my mother tongue, and it's one of the first non-fiction books I've read, but I didn't really have a problem with it, so I think that really speaks for the book. And yeah, we've got some visuals in here as well, which is always great. And yeah, timeline, I don't care. I wanted to see the contents. This is how he split up the book into parts. Focus, thank you. And yeah, gives a little glimpse into Amadeus as well at the end. And yeah, I mean, it's just under 500 pages, so and not a lot of visuals in it. Like, it takes you a while to get through, but it was interesting. There will be passages that won't be as interesting to you, because it's really about a wide range of topics and not everything is as interesting. But yeah, overall a very, very cool read if you're into the topic. The next book is this memoir by Solomon Northup, 12 Years a Slave. It also has a movie adaptation, and yeah, again, I think everyone knows about this. I love the book, love the movies, so I highly recommend both of these. And yeah, I mean, it's a true story, which just makes it even more powerful. And yeah, again, it's about slavery in the 19th century, and talks about just this one guy, Solomon, who had to endure 12 years of slavery. And it's heartbreaking to read about what he was experiencing and what people around him were experiencing. And yeah, if you're interested in the topic, it's really a must read. And then book number 2, again, is something that I don't own. It's a book that my mother owns that I read, and I just have no copy for myself. This is The Diary of Anne Frank, and I mean, everyone knows about Anne Frank, right? I mean, it's just her diary, and it's a glimpse into what she was experiencing at that time, and about her childhood, her teenage years, and I mean, the end. And the book itself obviously isn't like a masterpiece in terms of writing, obviously, but if we're putting it into perspective and just knowing that this is a real diary with real diary entries, this is just, I don't know, I don't have any words for it really. I think everyone should read this and really learn about her experience, and even read more books about it, about what happened afterwards, because the diary entries stop at one point, and there is another book that just talks about the months afterwards. And yeah, it's really a must read. I don't know what else to tell you. So number 1 is Stephen Fry's Great Mythology series. This is the third book because the first 2 books are in German, and I only own the third book in English. So yeah, I wanted to show you the English copy, of course. And this doesn't have pictures in it, I think. Could have been even better if there were. But this is the definition of a fun non-fiction book, for sure. No doubt about that. Like, this is really a writing style that will keep you engaged. It's so funny at times, and there are footnotes which are, again, just so funny, and it's basically just a retelling about different things in Greek mythology, and just talking also about some things in it, like giving more background information, some fun facts that you might have not known before. And yeah, it's just a cool way to read about these myths again. So in the first one we have just different myths in it, a collection of all kinds of stuff, and then the second book is about all kinds of heroes from these myths, and this third book is about the Iliad. So I think there should be a 4th book in the future talking about the Odyssey, which happens after the Iliad and the whole war around and about Troy. And I hope he's going to publish a 5th book about the Aeneid. that would be so cool, because it's my favorite book out of these three, like Odyssey, Iliad, and Aeneid. And yeah, it's just a very cool series. Very nice to get into mythology as well, I think, because it's just so fun and not very complicated, and just talks about general stuff in mythology, so you won't be as confused, I think. But yeah, as someone who has read a lot about mythology, it's still very, very cool, which is why it's on the number one spot. But I mean, every single book that I mentioned today is really, really cool. It's so hard to decide between these first places always, so yeah, I don't really know if it really is the best non-fiction book I've ever read, but it's just very special, so I had to put it in here. And yeah, that's my whole list. I hope the video isn't too long again. I just don't want to rush over these books, because I mean, they are favorites. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and found some interesting books in here, maybe books that you've also read. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. This top 10 video series is not over. I still have a lot of other genres planned. I'll hope I'll see you in one of them again, and until then, I wish you a happy rest of your day, happy reading, take care, and bye!